Maya stood outside the old hardware store with a weight pressing against her ribs, the same store her parents once praised as the heart of the family. At 25 she had already accepted that she was the forgotten child, the quiet daughter who existed only to make her older brother Josh look brighter. Her father often said, "Josh is the backbone of this family," while Maya quietly swallowed the pain. Everything shifted the night investigators called her unexpectedly. "You need to come in," one of them said. "It's about a fire, and your name is involved." Maya felt the ground tilt beneath her. Growing up, Maya watched Josh receive everything without earning any of it. When he smashed their father's truck at 17, their mother hugged him and said, "You're just overwhelmed, baby." But when Maya bought her used car with money saved from bagging groceries, her father only shrugged and said, "Don't expect help with insurance." Family holidays told the same painful story. One Christmas, Josh unwrapped a mountain of gifts while Maya opened socks and a self-help book. She whispered, "You don't see me," only for her mother to sigh, "Try being more like Josh." As an adult, Maya found comfort in a man named Leo, who seemed different from anyone she'd known. He listened when she talked, held her hand when her family ignored her, and whispered, "You deserve better than this." She believed him because his kindness felt rare. But slowly Maya noticed Leo taking late calls, turning his phone away from her, and spending more time with her parents than with her. When she asked, "Are we okay?" Leo forced a smile and said, "Work is just stressful." Maya heard the words, but her heart told her something wasn't right. Everything shifted the day Maya stopped by her parents' house unannounced. She walked into the living room and found Leo sitting too close to Josh, both looking startled like children caught stealing something. "Maya? You're early," Leo stammered. Josh quickly added, "We were just talking about business." But their faces were pale and their shoulders stiff and their eyes refused to meet hers. Maya smiled politely and left, pretending not to notice the tension. Inside she whispered, "Someone is lying to me," unaware that both men were lying, and both for the same purpose. 3 months later, everything snapped into focus when Maya saw messages on Leo's unlocked phone. "Once the insurance pays out, we can start fresh," Josh had written. Maya won't see it coming. Another message read, "She's too trusting. This solves everything." Leo replied, "I'll keep her distracted." Maya's hands trembled as she whispered, "They're planning something bigger than betrayal." She took screenshots, emailed them to herself, and placed the phone back exactly as she found it. That night, while Leo showered, Maya sat on the bed breathing hard, realizing her own family saw her as the ideal scapegoat. Maya forced herself to act calm in the days that followed, even though her stomach twisted every time Leo smiled at her. She spoke gently, walked quietly, and pretended nothing had changed because she understood one thing clearly. If she confronted them too early, they would only hide their tracks. Instead, she watched their movements closely and listened more than she spoke. "Are you coming home for dinner tonight?" Leo would ask with forced sweetness. Maya always replied, "Of course," while her mind worked like a calculator, counting every lie she heard. She knew something bigger was coming. During that same period, Maya started digging into the business records of her parents' hardware store. She discovered unpaid loans, overdue supplier bills, and letters threatening foreclosure. "How long has it been this bad?" she whispered to herself as she flipped through public documents. The store wasn't struggling, it was drowning. Josh had been handling the finances, but it was clear he had no idea what he was doing. Maya called an old classmate who worked at the local bank and he confirmed her fears. "Your family is in serious debt," he said. "This isn't small trouble, Maya." A darker realization formed slowly in Maya's mind, heavier than anything she had imagined before. Her family wasn't just planning a betrayal, they were planning a crime. From whispers she overheard and messages she read, she pieced together the horrifying truth. Her parents and Josh wanted to burn down the store and blame her to collect insurance money. "They'll believe she snapped," one message from Josh said. Another from Leo read, "She won't fight back." Maya felt her heart ache as she whispered into the empty room, "You all think I'm that powerless." She knew she needed help immediately. The day before the planned fire, Maya walked into the police station with a folder full of printed screenshots. She approached the desk and said, "I need to speak to someone about preventing a crime." The officer looked skeptical until she revealed the first page of messages. Within minutes, Detective Harris, a calm woman in her 40s, sat across from her reviewing the evidence. Your family planned all this, and they openly wrote it in text messages? She asked, stunned. Maya nodded and whispered, they think I'll stay quiet. Detective Harris leaned forward and said, not this time. Detective Harris arranged for surveillance around the store immediately, setting officers in unmarked vehicles across the block. That night, Maya checked into a hotel under a different name, fearing they would try to track her movements. She lay on the bed staring at the ceiling as she whispered, please let them catch them before the fire spreads. At 2:41 a.m. her phone rang. Maya, the detective said breathlessly, we caught them. They're at the store with gasoline. Maya felt tears run down her face in silence. For the first time, the truth was finally on her side. At sunrise, Maya arrived at the station, her hands shaking as she approached the glass window overlooking the holding area. Through it, she saw her parents sitting side by side, looking smaller than she had ever seen them. Josh paced angrily, refusing to sit, while Leo sat with his head in his hands. Maya whispered, you really were going to do it, as her heart cracked in slow motion. When her father finally noticed her, he stood and shouted something she couldn't hear. His eyes were desperate, but Maya only stepped back, refusing to open the door. During questioning, her mother tried the same innocent act she had used Maya's entire childhood. I didn't know, she cried to the detectives. I just trusted them. But the officers had already reviewed her messages, including one where she wrote, make sure Maya looks unstable so the story fits. When confronted with the evidence, her mother covered her face and whispered, I was trying to protect our family. Detective Harris leaned forward and said, you were trying to protect yourselves. Not her. Maya watched through the glass, and for the first time she didn't feel guilty for her silence. Josh attempted a different tactic, pointing fingers at everyone except himself. Mom planned it. Dad approved it. Leo handled the timing, he argued. I was just helping. But when detectives showed him footage of him entering the store with gasoline at 2:15 a.m., his expression collapsed. Someone set me up, he insisted weakly. The officers exchanged tired looks before one replied, you set yourself up. The camera doesn't lie. Maya watched him slump into the chair with a defeated sigh. She whispered, for once you can't talk your way out. It felt like justice touching her skin. Leo, meanwhile, tried to charm his way through the interrogation, the same way he charmed her for 2 years. Maya misunderstood things, he said. I love her. I never wanted to hurt her. The detective slid printed screenshots across the table. This is you planning to distract her while a felony takes place, she said. Leo swallowed hard, losing the confident smile he always wore. It wasn't supposed to go this far, he muttered. Maya stood behind the one-way mirror and whispered, you should have protected me, not betrayed me. She wiped a tear and turned away. Over the next weeks, the investigation uncovered even more evidence. The hardware store's security system had been misconfigured for years, unknowingly saving every video clip to cloud storage. Detectives found footage of planning meetings, whispered discussions, and even arguments about who would get the insurance money first. This is unbelievable, one investigator said. They practically recorded their own documentary. Maya felt her chest grow warm with painful relief. Everything she suspected, everything she feared, everything she doubted, it was all in the videos. For the first time she said softly, no one can deny this now. The emotional weight settled heavily on Maya when trial preparations began. Her attorney walked her through every detail, every timeline, every message. You need to testify, he said gently. Your voice matters in this. Maya swallowed and replied, I've been quiet my whole life. He looked at her kindly and said, then this is your chance to stop being quiet. She agreed, though her stomach tightened at the thought of speaking against her own family. Still, she whispered to herself, they wanted me to lose everything. I can't protect them from the truth anymore. The courtroom felt colder than Maya expected on the first day of trial. She sat in the gallery, her hands clasped tightly, watching her parents enter in handcuffs. Her mother glanced at her with pleading eyes, but Maya turned away. Josh came next, glaring as if she were the enemy. Leo refused to look at her at all. Are you ready? Detective Harris whispered beside her. Maya nodded slowly. Yes, she said, I'm ready. For the first time she felt like she wasn't the powerless daughter who stayed quiet to keep the peace. She felt like someone who deserved truth. When the prosecutor presented the security footage, the entire courtroom fell silent. In one recording, her father explained calmly how the fire should start in the back room. In another, her mother discussed what signs of emotional instability Maya should show. In another still, Josh laughed while saying, "Maya will never see this coming." Maya clenched her fists as she watched, the pain sharp but cleansing. A juror glanced at her with sympathy, and Maya met the gaze without flinching. She whispered softly, "You see me now." For the first time, people saw the truth she lived with. The defense attorneys fought desperately, but there was no path to victory. Every lie was matched with a message, every denial with a video, every excuse with solid evidence. When Maya finally took the stand, her voice trembled at first. "I loved them," she said truthfully. "I trusted all of them. And they used that trust to destroy me." The courtroom listened closely as she described the months of manipulation. "I didn't want revenge," she said softly. "I just didn't want to go to prison for something I didn't do." Her words settled like quiet thunder. By the time closing arguments finished, Maya knew the outcome deep in her bones. The jury returned in less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Her father slumped forward, her mother sobbed uncontrollably, Josh stared blankly at the table, and Leo covered his face with both hands. Maya took a slow breath as the judge read the final verdict. The weight she had carried her whole life finally began to lift. As she stepped out of the courtroom, Detective Harris said gently, "You did the right thing." Maya nodded and whispered, "For the first time I finally did." Sentencing day felt different for Maya. The courtroom no longer felt cold. It felt final, like the last chapter of a book she never wanted to read. Her father received 8 years in state prison, her mother 6, and Josh 7 with probation afterward. Leo received 4 years, his confident smile completely gone. When the judge asked if Maya had anything to say, she simply shook her head. Outside the courthouse, she took a long breath as the press cameras clicked. She whispered to herself, "This is the end of their story in my life, not mine." With the criminal case settled, Maya turned her focus to rebuilding her life. Her attorney, Mr. Daniels, encouraged her to consider a civil lawsuit. "You deserve compensation for what they did," he said gently. Maya hesitated at first, wondering if it was too harsh. But when she remembered her mother's messages saying, "Make her look unstable," her resolve strengthened. "File it," she said quietly. The lawsuit included emotional distress, defamation, and conspiracy to deprive her of her freedom. Mr. Daniels nodded proudly. "You're stronger than you realize, Maya," he told her. During the civil case review, a surprising discovery emerged. When her grandfather helped fund the hardware store years ago, he had added a clause stating that any partner convicted of fraud against the business would automatically forfeit their share. Maya had never known this. Her attorney smiled as he showed her the document. "Your grandfather protected you long before you understood what was happening," he said. Maya felt her eyes burn softly. "He always said I had a good head on my shoulders," she murmured. "I just never thought he planned this far ahead." The court ruled entirely in Maya's favor. Her parents' shares were forfeited due to the fraud conviction. Josh lost his claim to anything connected to the store. Maya suddenly found herself the sole owner of the business that had been used as a weapon against her. When her father heard about the final ruling, he tried calling from prison, but Maya refused the call. She looked at the attorney and said, "They took everything from me first." Mr. Daniels replied, "Now you're taking back what should have been yours all along." Maya nodded slowly, accepting her new reality. Stepping into the damaged hardware store for the first time as owner felt surreal. The fire had destroyed the back room and left smoke marks across the ceiling. Maya touched one of the charred shelves and whispered, "You were supposed to save this place, Grandpa." She hired a contractor to begin repairs immediately. When the insurance company sent the payout for the fire damage, she used every dollar to rebuild what her family nearly destroyed. Workers moved quickly, installing new shelves, repainting walls, and rewiring the back room. Maya visited daily, watching her future rise from ashes. While reviewing employee files, Maya discovered that 2 workers had known about the scheme but chose silence over integrity. She called them into the office separately. "You were aware of a criminal plan," she said firmly. "And you stayed quiet." Both tried to explain, but Maya held up her hand. "I'm starting fresh," she said. "And I can't start with people who stay silent when things go wrong." They were released the same day. She then called in the honest employees, people who had simply done their jobs without participating. "I need you," she told them. "Let's rebuild this place together." One employee, a middle-aged woman named Rita, became especially important in the store's transformation. She had worked there for over a decade and knew every aisle like a roadmap. "Your grandfather was a good man," Rita told her one morning. "He'd be proud of you for fighting back." Maya smiled softly. "I didn't fight alone," she replied. "You all helped me stand." Rita eventually became the store manager, handling day-to-day operations with confidence. Maya relied on her heavily, grateful for the stability Rita brought. Together they turned chaos into structure, one shelf at a time. With the store running again, Maya turned her attention to business operations. She updated the old inventory system, negotiated fair contracts with suppliers, and introduced new services like tool rentals and seasonal workshops. "This place can be more than a store," she told Rita. "It can be a community hub." Customers noticed the changes quickly. Foot traffic doubled within the first month as word spread that Palmer Tools, now renamed Maya's Hardware, was under new, honest leadership. Maya greeted customers herself, smiling as she said, "Welcome in. Let me know if you need anything." Maya's personal life slowly began to heal as well. She moved into a small apartment near the store, choosing a quiet place with plenty of sunlight. For a long time she kept to herself, afraid of trusting too quickly again. But one day she met Daniel, a gentleman who worked at the coffee shop across the street. He always greeted her with a warm smile. "Rough morning?" he'd ask. "Just rebuilding a life," she'd reply lightly. Over time their conversations grew longer, sprinkled with soft laughter and shared stories. Maya let herself breathe again. 3 months later Maya and Daniel went on their first official date. They sat by the window of a small cafe, sipping tea while rain tapped on the glass. "I know your past is heavy," Daniel told her, "but you don't have to carry it alone." Maya looked down, then lifted her eyes and said, "I'm learning how to trust again." He smiled gently, not pushing for more. It was the kind of calm she never knew she needed. That night as she walked home Maya whispered, "Maybe I can finally start living, not just surviving." As months passed, Maya's Hardware continued to grow stronger. Contractors began recommending the store to new workers, praising its fair prices and friendly service. "Your place feels honest," one contractor told her. "That matters." Maya nodded gratefully. Behind the counter she kept a framed photo of her grandfather, reminding her who she was doing all this for. "I hope I'm making you proud," she whispered one evening while locking up. She no longer felt like the quiet girl who hid behind responsibility. She felt like a woman building her own legacy, one customer at a time. One afternoon, Maya received a letter from the state prison administration. It stated that her father wanted her added to his visitor list again. She folded the paper quietly and placed it in a drawer without responding. Later that evening Rita asked gently, "Will you visit him someday?" Maya shook her head slowly. "He chose his path," she said. "And I'm choosing mine." There was no anger in her voice anymore, only a calm acceptance. She no longer needed closure from the people who tried to destroy her. She had created her own closure by surviving them. A week later her mother sent another letter, 4 pages long, overflowing with apologies and excuses. Maya opened it, read the first 2 sentences and then fed it through the shredder. "I don't need more reasons," she whispered. "I lived through the truth." She no longer felt guilt or obligation pressing on her shoulders. Instead she felt a strange lightness, like a window finally opened after years of suffocating air. She realized that forgiveness was not required for healing. Sometimes healing meant simply walking away without looking back. Josh attempted to reach her through a recorded message from the prison phone system, insisting that he was manipulated and misunderstood. "We can fix this, Maya," he said. "We're still family." Maya listened quietly, then pressed delete. "Family protects each other," she said softly. "You did the opposite." She blocked the prison number entirely. For the first time in her life, she understood that family wasn't defined by blood, but by behavior. She chose to invest in the people who had shown loyalty, not the ones who pretended to love her while plotting her downfall. When business stabilized, Maya invited Uncle Pete, her father's estranged brother, to visit the store. He had always been the quiet one in the family, the one who saw more than he spoke. They walked through the aisles together as he shared stories about her grandfather. "He worried about your folks making careless choices," Pete said. "But he always believed you were the steady one." Maya's eyes softened. "He protected me even when I didn't know I needed protection." Pete smiled and replied, "That's what wise men do." They began discussing a possible partnership, one built on trust. Daniel gradually became a comforting presence in Maya's life. He visited the store during slow hours, bringing her warm tea and gentle humor. "You look tired," he would say. "Sit for a minute." She appreciated his quiet care, so different from the chaos she once knew. One evening after closing, he said softly, "I'm proud of how far you've come." Maya felt her chest warm. "I didn't do it alone," she replied. He shook his head kindly. "You did the hardest part yourself." Maya smiled, finally believing the words instead of doubting them. As the holidays approached, Maya organized a free community event at the store, offering hot chocolate, tool demonstrations, and small giveaways. Families filled the aisles with laughter and children ran around holding balloons. Rita whispered, "Look at what you built." Maya gazed around with a peaceful smile. "For the first time," she said, "I feel like this place is alive again." She stood near the entrance, greeting everyone who walked in. Each thank you, each warm handshake, each smile reminded her she had not only rebuilt a store, she had rebuilt a piece of herself. One quiet evening after everyone left, Maya sat alone on a stool near the counter. The lights were dim and the store looked warm and calm. She gently touched her grandfather's photo and whispered, "I wish you could see this." She imagined him smiling at the renewed space, proud of how she preserved his dream. Instead of thinking about her family's betrayal, she thought about her own resilience. "They tried to ruin me," she murmured. "But I turned it into a beginning." The thought didn't hurt anymore. It strengthened her. Spring arrived with new customers, new contracts, and new possibilities. Maya expanded into the empty shop next door, creating a larger workshop area for community classes. "This place is going to be something special," Daniel said during the grand reopening. Maya nodded confidently. "It already is." She looked around at the growing business, her hardworking team, and the people who believed in her. The betrayal that once crushed her had become the foundation for her transformation. She finally understood that sometimes life destroys what you know so it can rebuild what you deserve. One evening, as Maya locked up the store and walked into the warm sunset, she felt a peace she had never known. Her past no longer controlled her, her family no longer defined her, and the scars no longer weakened her. Instead, they reminded her of her strength. Daniel caught up to her at the sidewalk and asked, "Ready to go home?" Maya smiled gently and replied, "For the first time in my life, yes." She walked forward with her head high, knowing she had survived fire, betrayal, and heartbreak, and turned it all into a future she built on her own terms.